My beloved God chosen, pause and listen closely. You are not here by mistake. You didn't find this message, it found you. Heaven itself has orchestrated this divine encounter. Tonight is not like other nights. This is the night that was written into your story before you ever took your first breath. The night where God will do the greatest thing He's ever done in your life. You are not like the rest. You are not random. You are not forgotten in a crowd of millions. You are set apart. You are called. You are marked by the hand of God from the womb. Your life has been targeted by divine intention. Every rejection, every moment of pain, every time someone walked away, it wasn't to destroy you, it was to prepare you. And now heaven says, get ready, because tonight the reason for your wilderness will be revealed. Can you feel it? There is a stirring, deep, invisible, but undeniable. The kind that doesn't come from man, the kind that only heaven initiates. Something is shifting in the atmosphere of your spirit. And that shift is not coincidence, it's divine timing. You are standing in the middle of a heavenly pause. God has pushed everything else aside to focus on you tonight, because He is about to move in a way you've never seen. This is not the time to doubt yourself. This is not the hour to pull back. It is your moment to rise. You've cried in silence. You've waited in pain. You've held on when it would have been easier to let go. And God saw every single second of it. And now He says, I'm about to do something new. And it begins with you. And, chosen one, tonight is a line in the sand. What has been will no longer be. Zeal. The spiritual weight you've carried for years is breaking. Chains that have bound you emotionally, mentally, and even generationally, they are shattering right now. Why? Because heaven has declared your name. Because God has said, it is time. You've been hidden. But you've been hidden for a purpose. Protected. Not neglected, covered, not forgotten. You are not reading this just for motivation. This is a divine alert. The spiritual realm is opening tonight. And you, yes, you are being summoned by heaven for something that will not only change your life, but the lives of many through you. This is your calling moment. This is where destiny starts to manifest in visible ways. You may not see the full picture yet, but trust this, you were not built to stay where you are. You were not designed to blend in, to shrink back, to survive in silence. No, you were crafted by God to rise, to stand, to shine. And tonight something will ignite inside of you that cannot be put out. The word of God declares in the book of Isaiah chapter 43 verse 19, behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. Yes, beloved, that's you. That verse is your confirmation. God is doing something new in you tonight. Not tomorrow, not next year, tonight, right now. A divine current is flowing through your life where there has been wilderness. He's creating a path where there has been drought. He's releasing rivers. This is not inspiration, it is transformation. You are a living prophecy. Everything about you has meaning. Every season has been building toward this very hour. God has been weaving your story through pain, patience, and preparation. And tonight the veil lifts. The purpose awakens. The chosen one steps forward. Let go of the guilt. Release the shame. Lay aside the fear. Those things cannot follow you into this next season. You are being called higher, chosen for greater. You will no longer be silent about your faith, your fire, or your future. Heaven is placing a divine weight on your shoulders, not to crush you, but to crown you, to set you apart as His vessel, His voice, His chosen. And if your spirit is bearing witness right now, if something deep within you is trembling because you know this is for you, respond, declare it, mark this moment. Comment the number 261. Now, not as superstition, but as a prophetic act. 261 is the number of this word, the signpost of your divine turning point. Let it be written in the records of heaven. This was the night you said yes. You are no longer waiting for permission. You are no longer asking for validation. Heaven has spoken. God has chosen. And now it's time. Step forward. Chosen one, the greatest move of God in your life begins tonight. You've always felt it, haven't you? That invisible pull, that quiet difference in the way you see, feel, discern. Even from an early age, you sensed there was something about you that didn't quite match the rhythm of the world around you. You weren't rebellious for the sake of being difficult. You were disrupted by something deeper. And while others could ignore the weight of the unseen, you were always drawn to it, marked by it. You didn't choose that, heaven did. You tried to blend in, you tried to shrink to fit, you tried to silence the call. But the more you did, the more unsettled you became. That's because the crown on your life doesn't sit well in compromised spaces. The fire in your bones was never meant to burn quietly. It demands release. It demands obedience. It demands surrender. And chosen one. That's what makes you so dangerous to darkness. Not your perfection, not your performance, but your awareness, your yes, that unrelenting yes in your spirit that just won't die. You've tried to walk away. You've tried to silence the whisper. You've even begged God to choose someone else. But still, the call remains. Why? Because He won't withdraw what He's ordained. You carry something that can't be replicated. There's a fragrance on your obedience that causes hell to tremble. And that's why the warfare has felt so relentless. Not because you're weak, but because you're strategic. The enemy doesn't attack random targets. He attacks what threatens his system and chosen one. Your existence threatens his system. But listen to me. You are not here by coincidence. You are not hearing this by accident. This is not content, it's confirmation. Heaven is pulling you out of delay, out of confusion, out of cycles that were never meant to hold you. This moment is your summons. You've been faithful in private. You've prayed in pain. You've interceded while bleeding. You've stood when everything in you screamed to sit down, and heaven saw it all, every unseen act of obedience, every midnight cry, every yes whispered through tears. It was never ignored. It was never wasted. It was counted. And now God is responding not because of pity, but because of promise. The promise that what He started in you, He will finish. The promise that He who called you is faithful. The promise that obedience, even when it's invisible, is never in vain. You're not just walking into a new season, you're stepping into alignment. The kind of alignment that causes acceleration. The kind that makes up for lost time. The kind that breaks chains you didn't even know was still on you. You've done the work, you've endured the fire, and now you emerge with oil. As the prophet Habakkuk once declared in chapter 3 verse 19, the sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He enables me to tread on the heights. Yes, that's what this moment is. Strength, stability, supernatural elevation. Not because of what the world sees, but because of what heaven knows. You've been forged in the secret place, molded in hiddenness, sharpened in solitude. And now the ones who overlooked you will no longer be able to deny the weight you carry. But be warned, this isn't the time to doubt. This isn't the time to look back. You are on holy ground. The very atmosphere around you is shifting, not just externally, but in you. What used to break you no longer moves you. What used to distract you now bores you. What used to confuse you has become clear. That's not personality, that's authority. You're walking in something new. Not louder, but deeper. Not showier, but heavier. Not emotional, but eternal. This is what you were born for. Not the spotlight, but the assignment. You don't need validation. You don't need applause. All you need is the voice that already marked you before the womb. You are mine. Oh, and because you're His, no force can stop what's unfolding. The war is yours. Because you're His, no force can stop what's unfolding. Yes, hell may rage. Yes, attacks may increase. But your roots go deeper now. Your footing is firmer. Your resolve is set. You've been through too much to be moved by surface level warfare. You've seen too much to be shaken by temporary storms. Chosen one, hear this again in your spirit. You are ready, not because you feel ready, but because heaven says you are. And when heaven speaks, everything else must bow. You don't need another sign. This is it. You were never meant to remain hidden forever. Chosen one, the pain you walked through, the pressure you endured, and the silence you survived were not the end of your story. They were the forging ground of your spirit. While others saw only the outer battle, God was doing something far deeper. He was molding your inner man, carving strength into your bones and anchoring your identity in something the storms of life couldn't shake. There were moments you wanted to give up, not because you were weak, but because you were carrying too much for too long. You looked around and wondered why your journey seemed harder than most, why your process seemed longer, why your breakthrough seemed delayed. But heaven was not punishing you, it was preparing you. Because when God calls someone to carry something great, He must build within them a foundation that won't crack. When the weight of glory falls, you weren't being denied, you were being delayed for the sake of deeper roots. Because what's coming is not surface level. What's coming will demand all of you, your faith, your discipline, your obedience, and your endurance. That's why the wilderness was so long, so that your heart could be refined, your hearing sharpened, your spirit strengthened. You thought you were just fighting for your own life, but in reality, you were fighting for generations, for legacy, for deliverance that will ripple through your bloodline. The darkness that tried to devour you wasn't only after your soul, it was after your future. But you stood bruised but unbroken. And that posture has marked you as dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. The Lord doesn't look for polished vessels. He looks for surrendered ones. You with your questions, your scars, your honest cries. You are the exact kind of person He entrusts with power. Why? Because you know what it means to weep and still worship, to fall and still rise, to be rejected by man but still chosen by God. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you ready. Do not believe the lie that you have missed your moment. Heaven does not operate on human clocks. What God has for you is not slipping away. It's moving into alignment. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right on time for what God is unfolding. The doors that didn't open before weren't a rejection. They were a redirection. And now the true doors, the appointed paths, the prepared places are beginning to unlock. As recorded in the book of Micah, chapter 7, verse 8. Though I have fallen, I will rise. Though I sit in darkness, the Lord will be my light. Oh, let that word anchor you. Now, this isn't about bouncing back from inconvenience. This is resurrection from spiritual burial. The kind of rising that turns graves into gates. The kind of rising that silences everything hell thought it could say about you. You're not crawling. You're rising by the breath of God, by the strength of His Spirit. You're rising. Comment, I will rise. Not as a wish, not as a maybe, but as a violent refusal to stay buried in what God already pulled you out of. This is not about feeling strong. It's about choosing war, spiritual war. Tonight, your spirit stands up and says, I won't stay in this pit. I won't let the enemy win. I won't let fear speak louder than the promise over my life. Let this be recorded in heaven. You didn't fold. You didn't retreat. You rose. Let the darkness see it. Let your past hear it. Let your future shout back to this moment and say, this is the night I rose. This declaration is more than words. It is a sword in the spirit. When you type it, you draw a line hell cannot cross. This is your uprising, chosen one. You are not who you were yesterday, and you won't be the same tomorrow, because something shifted, something broke, and something new is rising from within you now. Not because of how strong you are, but because of how faithful God has always been. This is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your unveiling. Your voice will be heard, your light will shine, and your purpose will prevail. You didn't survive all that fire just to stay quiet. You rose because purpose called your name. You rose because God refused to let you sink. From this moment forward, live like one who is risen. Walk like the battle is over. Because in heaven's eyes, it already is. There is a silence that comes after the storm. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of heaven, watching to see what you will do next. Chosen one, you are standing in that silence now. Not because you failed, but because you've passed something invisible. You've come through trials that didn't leave visible scars, but reshaped everything inside you. And now the stillness is in punishment. It's a holy pause, a breath before release. You've asked, why is it quiet now? The fire has died down. The warfare has grown subtle. The voices have gone silent. It feels like nothing is moving, yet something in your spirit knows everything is changing. That's because this is not stagnation. It's sacred stillness. God often speaks loudest in the quietest moments. And right now, heaven is not absent. Heaven is observing. There are moments when you shout, and then there are moments when you stand. This is a standing moment. A moment where faith is not in the noise or signs, but in knowing deep in your soul that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. That though the earth beneath you doesn't quake, the heavens above you have already shifted. This silence is strategic. It's where your discernment sharpens, where your spirit matures, where your oil settles. You are not being delayed, you are being preserved. And only the mature will understand this part of the journey, because immaturity panics in silence. But the mature know silence from God is never absence, it is alignment. And you, chosen one, are aligning now, not just with the calling, but with the cadence of heaven, the timing, the rhythm. The assignments that once felt too heavy now feel appointed. The places that once felt like pressure now feel like preparation. That's because your spirit is catching up to what God has already said over you. This is what maturity feels like. Peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. Stability that doesn't need explanations. Confidence that doesn't require applause. You've outgrown the need to be seen. You no longer crave recognition. You're satisfied with revelation. You're not chasing moments. You're becoming the message. And that message carries weight. Weight that cannot be faked. Authority that cannot be imitated. Your voice has changed, not in tone but in truth, because when you've walked with God long enough in silence, you stop speaking for response. You start speaking from encounter. That's what separates noise from power. And you, chosen one, are now carrying power. You've paid for it, not with money, but with midnight tears, with surrendered dreams, with invisible sacrifices, with seasons where you obeyed in the dark, not knowing if the light would ever return. And now that obedience is echoing. That trust is unlocking something new, not just for you, but for others around you. From the book of Lamentations, chapter 3, verse 26. It is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. You've been waiting, not passively, not impatiently, but with your face turned to heaven, with your hands open, with your heart still bowed low. And now you're closer than you realize. What lingered is not lost. What was hidden is not gone. The delay was never denial. It was divine protection. There are things coming to you now, not because you chased them, but because you outlasted everything that tried to talk you out of them. You stayed, you stood. You kept walking when it felt like no one was watching. You didn't quit when it would have been easier to disappear. And that chosen one is why this next season will carry a different sound. Not the sound of striving, but the sound of fulfillment. The sound of footsteps in rhythm with destiny. The sound of a life that no longer doubts its assignment. You're not questioning anymore, you're moving. You're not seeking signs, you are a sign. Your life is the evidence that God still speaks, still raffines, still restores. And in this stillness, God is sharpening your focus. You don't have the luxury of distraction anymore. What's on you is too important. What's in you is too holy. This is not the time to drift. This is the time to lock in, to tune your ears, guard your gates, and protect the oil that cost you everything. You are not here by accident. You didn't stumble into this moment. Heaven appointed it. And the silence you feel now is not a void. It is sacred confirmation. The kind of pause that only happens before the curtain opens. The kind of hush that signals something is about to be revealed. So don't be discouraged by the quiet. It is the final signal before God says now. And when He says it, you'll be ready. Not because you were loud, but because you were prepared, chosen one. There is a reason the enemy fought you so hard. It wasn't just about your peace, it was about your position. The pressure wasn't sent to break you, it was sent to reveal you. And now, standing in the aftermath of all that pain, you're beginning to realize there is something inside you the storm could not drown. God has always known this moment would come. The moment where you no longer flinch at fear. The moment where the voice of heaven drowns out the whispers of doubt. The moment where the same you who once questioned your worth begins to walk in undeniable authority. That moment is now, not in a week, not someday, now. And the evidence isn't in how perfect you look. It's in how unshakable your spirit has become. You've been bruised but not bitter, stretched but not snapped, overlooked but not undone. You carry battle wounds that qualify you for the next level, not disqualify you from it. That's why God is elevating you now. Not because of what you pretended to be, but because of who you became in the furnace. Somewhere along the way you stopped begging God to remove the fire and started becoming fire. That's when heaven took notice. Because God doesn't promote the loudest, He promotes the ready. And now the weight you carry is not just personal, it's prophetic. You are walking proof that what the enemy meant for evil, God has turned for glory. As spoken through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1. Arise, shine, for your light has come and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. This isn't a poetic verse, it's a call to action. It's heaven's trumpet sounding in your spirit. It's the moment the ashes are traded for oil, the sackcloth exchanged for garments of praise. And God says to you, rise, shine. The light you've been waiting for isn't coming from somewhere else. It's coming from within you. You are the light. You are the answer to darkness. You are the one heaven is commissioning. No more hiding, no more hesitation. It's time to step into what you were born to carry. And if you still doubt how this will unfold, just look back. Didn't God preserve you? Didn't He deliver you from things you thought you'd never escape? Didn't He keep your mind when you thought you'd lose it? Chosen one, if God brought you through that, He will carry you into this. You are not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience, from scars, from testimonies, from a history of survival that hell can't explain and heaven won't waste. And now as you move forward, understand this. You were never meant to walk this path alone. What God is birthing in you is too great to keep hidden, too powerful to be contained. That's why it's so important that you stay connected to the Word, to the flow, to voices that call you up, not drag you back. If this message has confirmed something deep within your spirit, if it stirred something that's been silent for too long, then don't let it pass you by. Let it take root. Let it activate movement. Stay connected to this frequency. Tap the like so the message doesn't get buried. Share it because someone else is waiting for a word just like you were. Subscribe if you haven't already. This isn't just a feed, it's a spiritual well. Every time you return, you're feeding something eternal inside you. And if God leads you to partner with this flow, your support plants seeds that ripple beyond your screen. It keeps the oil flowing, the message expanding, the broken finding hope. No pressure, only if heaven stirs your heart to do so. But know this, when you sow into something holy, the harvest always returns, multiplied, always chosen one. This is more than a message. This is a mantle, a divine reminder that you were built for this hour. And what God is doing in you tonight is not temporary, it is transformation. Others may not understand why you're changing, why you're letting go of things you once clung to, why you're pulling away from people who once felt familiar. That's okay. They didn't hear what you heard. They didn't see what heaven showed you. They didn't walk through the fire with you. but God did, and now He's walking you into the promise. So breathe deeply. Let the old version of you fade. Let the old fears lose their grip. You've been anointed for this new place. The glory of the Lord is rising on you. You don't need to manufacture it. You just need to move in it. Chosen one. It's not about being ready in your strength. It's about trusting the one who already is. And He says, rise, shine. So do it quietly, boldly, relentlessly. Shine because it's time. Shine because you survived. Shine because your light was never meant to stay hidden. There is a moment in every chosen one's life when silence turns into instruction, when the ache in your spirit becomes a command from heaven. You're not just being healed anymore, you're being positioned. You're not just surviving the storm, you're being summoned through it. The wilderness season has served its purpose. The fire has refined what religion could never reach. Now God is calling you not just to rise, but to move. You may not feel qualified, you may not have all the answers, but heaven is not searching for perfection. Heaven is searching for surrender. God is not asking if you're ready by the world's standards. He's asking if you're available. And your heart is beginning to say what your mouth hasn't dared to speak yet. Here I am. Lord, use me. There is something sacred about this exact moment. You are no longer being called just to believe. You're being called to respond. And when God speaks, He doesn't just give information, He gives invitation. This is that invitation into purpose, into calling, into weighty, holy responsibility. The same voice that called Moses from the burning bush is now calling you from the inside out. Not because you're the loudest, not because you're the most visible, but because you're willing, because He knows that if you say yes, nations will shift, generations will feel it. Chains will break where your feet walk. You've cried for clarity and heaven has given you confirmation. You've begged for peace and now God is giving you an assignment. Your healing is no longer just for your restoration. It's fuel for your mission. There is oil on your life and now God is pouring it out. Not just to cover you, but to send you, as it is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 6, verse 8. Here am I, send me. And that verse isn't a poetic quote, it's a battlefield vow. It is what your spirit is saying right now. Even through trembling hands and uncertain steps, that is the posture. God honors not the proud, but the present. Not the perfect, but the obedient chosen one. This is the hour where obedience speaks louder than confidence. Where you won't have all the answers, but you will have the anointing. And that's more than enough. Because when God sends someone, He equips them on the way. You may not feel ready, but heaven says, go anyway. What you carry is needed. The world doesn't need more noise, it needs light, it needs the sound of surrendered ones walking in holy boldness. And that is you. Not by force, but by fire. The fire that didn't destroy you has now become the fire that will lead you. You've been asking God for direction, and here it is. Go where the light in you can no longer be hidden. Go where the broken are waiting for a word. Go where religion can't reach, but your story can. Go where fear once silenced you, because now your voice has been resurrected. This isn't about stages. This isn't about crowds. It's about being assigned, not admired. About showing up to the battlefield with nothing but a word in your mouth and fire in your eyes, and heaven will handle the rest. You may feel like your past disqualifies you, but in truth, your past proves you. Your scars are the very reasons you can speak to certain rooms. Your pain is what gives you access others will never understand. And what crushed others has crowned you. You've been marked for more. God is not looking for those who say the right things. He's looking for those who mean it when they say, "Here I am." If that's you, if your heart is racing and you know this is your moment of release, then respond not just in spirit, but in action. Comment the number 444 right now as your prophetic reply to heaven's question, "Whom shall I send?" Let this be written in the books of destiny, that on this day, in this moment, you said yes. You didn't stall, you didn't wait, you stepped forward. The number 444 is not just digits. It represents divine alignment. Heaven, earth, and your spirit locking into the same frequency. It marks stability. It announces the foundation is ready. Now build. Let that be your declaration now. Let it echo in the spiritual realm. I will go, I will speak, I will not delay. The enemy wanted you frozen in fear. Heaven is releasing you in fire. And when you move from this moment, you do not move alone. You move with the host of heaven backing you, with the breath of God behind you. So go, chosen one. Speak what others are afraid to speak. Love where others gave up. Stand where others fell. Walk where others turned back. Your yes has power, and it all starts now. There is a sound that heaven listens for. Not the sound of talent, not the sound of ambition, but the sound of surrender and chosen one. That sound has been rising from your life for longer than you realize. Not just in your prayers, but in your perseverance. Not just in your declarations, but in your decisions. The fact that you're still here, still believing, still reaching for God, that sound has reached His throne. And heaven is responding. You've carried a weight in secret, a silent heaviness that no one could see, but God saw it. He saw the nights you held back tears so others wouldn't worry. He saw the moments you almost gave up, then did it. And He's not just moved by your strength, He's moved by your willingness to trust Him. Even when there was no visible reason to, this trust forged in fire has become a foundation. Others may speak about faith, but you've lived it through delay, through disappointment, through deep questions that had no quick answers. Still you chose to stand, still you chose to worship, still you whispered His name when no one else was listening, and that posture has made you dangerous to darkness. There is a resilience in you now that was born of pressure. You didn't gain it from books or sermons. You gained it from surviving what should have crushed you. You've seen too much to doubt the hand of God. Now, you may not understand every detail, but your soul knows this. God is not finished with you, and He's never left you. You are walking into a season where your endurance will begin to speak. People won't understand how you're still standing after everything you've faced. But that's the evidence. That's what God does with the ones He's chosen. He raises them from ashes and makes them living altars. He uses their story not just as inspiration, but as impartation. As found in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 8, we are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not in despair. In that is you pressed, but not broken. Confused at times, but never without hope. You didn't get through this far by chance. You were sustained, held, kept, preserved, not just for comfort, but for calling. You are not simply meant to survive. You are meant to carry something now. A sound, a presence, a testimony. And now, without realizing it, you're becoming a voice. Not the loudest, not the most polished, but the most authentic. In a world drowning in noise, authenticity is the sound that breaks through. People will listen to you, not because of how perfectly you speak, but because of how deeply you've lived. They will hear something in you that doesn't come from practice. It comes from pain turned into power. Chosen one, this is not a reward for suffering. It's the result of surrender. God does not waste brokenness. He rebuilds from it, stronger, deeper, more anointed than before. That's what He's doing with you. The version of you rising now doesn't walk in fear. It walks in clarity. It carries something costly, and that cost has created capacity. You don't need to rush to be seen. Visibility is coming, but it's not your goal. Obedience is when you stay hidden in God. He reveals you in the right time, in the right way, to the right people. You don't have to chase what's already been written over your life. So walk forward, not arrogantly, but unapologetically. Not to prove a point, but to fulfill a purpose. The enemy tried to silence you, but God used the silence to shape you. 2 Kings 2:3. Now speak, now go. Now live like someone marked by heaven, because the mark on your life was never meant to fade. It was sealed in suffering and confirmed in survival. You didn't come out of that storm just to resume a quiet life. You came out carrying fire, carrying purpose, carrying the kind of authority that only heaven gives and hell recognizes. So do not shrink, do not apologize for the glory rising on you. Walk in it, speak from it. Let it overflow into rooms, into people, into places that forgot what hope feels like. You were not called to blend in. You were called to carry something sacred. Let your life become a banner. Let your voice become an echo of God's faithfulness. Let every scar become a seal that says, God did this. God kept me. God sent me. You are not a survivor. You are a sign. And the world is about to see what heaven has always known. You were born for this. Not all growth looks like movement. Not all favor feels like comfort. And not all obedience comes with applause. You've learned that the hard way, haven't you? You've walked through seasons that felt more like silence than success. You've obeyed when it cost you connection. You've stood your ground when it would have been easier to fold. But through it all, one truth has remained. You are still here. Not just here in body, but here in purpose, in posture, in presence. You haven't lost your grip, even when everything around you shook. And that's not weakness, that's strength. That's resilience. That's the mark of the ones who are truly called. Because anyone can say yes when the reward is immediate. But the chosen say yes even when the reward is delayed. You didn't get here through ease. You got here through endurance. You didn't arrive at this point because of shortcuts. You arrived because you surrendered. And that's why the oil on your life carries a different weight. It's not cheap. It's not borrowed. It's not cosmetic. It was forged in fire. It was born in breaking, and now it's undeniable. You've carried things others never saw. You've interceded for people who walked away. You've forgiven offenses that never received an apology. You've given when you were empty. You've shown up when no one clapped. You've stayed when everything in you said run. And none of it was wasted. None of it unnoticed. Heaven has recorded it all. That's why you're being trusted now with more. Not because you asked for more, but because you've been faithful with little. And heaven always responds to stewardship, always honors private obedience, always rewards unseen yeses. You are now being ushered into a season where the invisible will be made visible. Not for show, not for status, but for assignment. What you built in the quiet is about to speak loudly. What you carried in secret is about to shift public spaces. But listen closely. This is not the time to change posture, it's the time to deepen it. Just because you're stepping into visibility doesn't mean you let go of intimacy. Visibility is not validation, it's responsibility. It's God saying, now that you've proven your heart is mine, I will place you where your voice can move nations. But make no mistake, the strength still comes from the secret place. You don't rise because of platforms. You rise because you've been planted, you've stayed rooted in the Word, anchored in prayer, hidden in Him. And now as the winds begin to shift, you won't be moved by storms. Because your foundation isn't built on applause, it's built on presence. The psalmist once wrote in chapter 1 verse 3, they are like a tree planted by streams of water which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prosper. And that is you now, planted, nourished, unshakable. Even when seasons shift, you remain. Even when others fall away, you remain. Even when the road narrows, you remain. Why? Because your roots have been trained in drought. You learned to stretch deeper when the rain didn't come. And now fruit is coming, not because of effort, but because of abiding. You're not trying to be fruitful. You are fruitful, not because you strive, but because you've stayed. And the fruit you carry won't rot with time. It will remain, it will multiply, it will feed others. That's why the process had to be long. That's why the pruning had to be deep. Because the fruit you carry isn't just for you. It's for generations. Chosen one. The time of hiding is shifting, but the posture of hiding must remain. Not a hiding from people, but a hiding in God. That's where your discernment sharpens. That's where your clarity returns. That's where the oil flows. You don't need to shout to be heard. You just need to remain in Him. And if you keep that posture, He will carry you places you never imagined. Not because of your strength, but because of your surrender. Not because of your talent, but because of your trust. This is not about elevation for your name. It's about kingdom movement through your life. So walk boldly, but walk humbly. Speak clearly, but listen deeply. Move forward, but stay hidden in heart. The most dangerous person to the kingdom of darkness is not the loudest, but the one who is fully yielded, the one who walks with heaven's pace, heaven's voice, heaven's authority. That's you now. Not just called, not just gifted, not just anointed, but ready, chosen one. There is a sound. Your life is about to release one that chains can't withstand, one that silence can't swallow, one that hell cannot silence. It doesn't come from your natural voice. It comes from the life you've lived, the battles you've survived, the pain you've endured without losing your praise. You've been tested not to expose your weakness, but to reveal your true foundation. And that foundation, though cracked in places, is still standing, still anchored in God, still strong enough to hold what heaven is about to pour. You didn't collapse, you didn't quit, you bent, yes, but you didn't break. And now God is about to show the world what endurance looks like when it's married to purpose. The breaking didn't break you, it built you. You don't need to explain your process to those who only saw the surface. They weren't there in the dark. They didn't feel the weight you carried in silence. They didn't see the warfare behind your worship. They don't know what it took to keep showing up when everything inside you was begging to disappear. But God knows. He saw every silent prayer, every midnight moment where your faith barely held. He watched not in judgment but in promise, because He knew something you didn't. You weren't going to stay broken. You were going to come out whole, not untouched, but unshakable. There's a shift happening in your atmosphere now, not around you, but in you. The way you think, the way you discern, the way you pray, it's all maturing. Heaven is not just touching your circumstances, it's transforming your inner man. You are stepping into divine emotional stability, spiritual intelligence, vision without fear, power without pride. You're no longer the version of yourself that begged to be seen. You're the version that knows they're sent. That changes everything. You don't move for applause. You move because fire pushes you forward. You don't speak for attention. You speak because the word is shut up in your bones like fire. You've become someone hell regrets touching. There is a consecration on your life now that requires distance. Not direction, just distance. Not because you're better, but because you're becoming different. There's a weight on your name, a sound in your spirit, a destiny on your life that demands focus. Every compromise becomes too expensive now. Every distraction too costly. As it is written in the book of Zechariah chapter 13 verse 9, I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. You've been refined, not rejected, tested, not discarded. And now the fire that once felt unbearable has become the very mark of your divine authenticity.